Hi, my name is AJ and welcome back to Drone Chat. Today we're going to be diving into this week's drone headlines. So let's roll the intro and get right into the video. Alright, so the very first headline this week that I wanted to touch on is actually one that I think has been anticipated by the drone community for quite some time, especially by the DJI drone community. So the headline reads, DJI's drone privacy mode is now available. So what does this mean and what does it entail? So I don't know if you remember, but a little while back DJI started geofencing their drones. I actually think I made a video about this not too long ago. And they restricted people from taking off when they were too close to airports or in just other no-fly zones, which for the most part was well received. It was helping keep drone pilots safe and keep civilians safe and just keep everyone safe from flying drones where they shouldn't be flown. But there were some problems with it. Sometimes it would not let drones take off when there was no no-fly zone or no updated no-fly zone. Or there was a situation where somebody had the proper clearance, had to do surveillance, or they had to inspect an airport, and the drone would not be able to fly because the app itself wouldn't let the drone take off. So there was certain instances where it would be great to override the DJI's kind of built-in geofencing system, but it wasn't possible until now. So now DJI has introduced a privacy mode that's available with the latest version of the Pilot app. So the whole idea about this is that it doesn't know your location. The app won't recognize your location when you're using it in this mode, which means that it won't use its geofencing to tell you if you can or cannot fly, and it won't lock the drone. So it'll allow people to fly in places where they might not be supposed to fly. But if they have clearance, then this is the way that you will be able to fly in an area where you do have the proper clearance to be able to fly there. Now, I guess this was also possibly prompted by the Army. So according to this article, this came after the U.S. Army stopped using DJI's products due to an increased awareness of cyber vulnerabilities. So the idea that with DJI collecting all this information and keeping it in their cloud in terms of where the drones are being flown and other vital information like that, the U.S. Army wasn't very comfortable with that, so they stopped using the drones. I believe there was another group of law enforcement that also stopped using the drones at some point. Oh yeah, the Australian Defence Forces also ceased use of DJI's products, and so this is kind of seen as a response to that. So now that armies and other people who have sensitive information in terms of where they're flying and don't want that information stored with a third party can use DJI's products with confidence, knowing that their information won't be stored offline. Interesting. I think it was been much anticipated for DJI to create a way to override kind of their Big Brother-esque sort of control that they're starting to add to the drones. I think this was the move for them. This is what I was talking about in a few videos back. But yeah, I'm really glad to see this. I think it's great for, I guess, yeah, like military uses, but more in terms of civilian uses, something that I or somebody, a fellow hobbyist I could see using is flying when they're trying to fly an area where they are allowed to fly, but DJI's own software won't let them fly. So that was the first headline. I'll have all the links to the articles down below in the description, by the way, so you can check more information out there. But next up, I wanted to talk about another drone catching device. It seems like these are popping up everywhere now. Makes sense, the idea of drones getting into areas where they shouldn't be, whether that's like a stadium or, just any area where there's lots of people. It's a very real concern, and thank goodness nothing's happened so far, but I fear that it's only really a matter of time before somebody uses a drone in a way that's not its intended use, shall we say. So this is nothing new per se, but I just thought it was interesting. This is another company, and they have a drone called the Drone Hunter, which is designed to stop trespassing drones with radar and a drone net. So simply it drops like a net on DJI, like on a Phantom or something like that, to stop it, get the propellers tangled, and then it can fly away with it. This is nothing new, but I just think it's interesting to see all these new tech startups popping up. So this startup is called Form Tech, and they've developed a hunting drone to pull trespassers out of the sky with a net while keeping overlookers safe below. And this is from CNBC. This is an article they just put out, I think, a few days ago. I'll have the full link down below, but it's a very interesting idea. I think it's harder to execute. There's a lot of room for error. A lot of times these drones are still being piloted by humans at this point. The drone that's trying to catch the lost drone is not actually flying by itself. So it's a little complicated, and if the net doesn't hit the drone, or if it knocks the drone out of the sky and it falls on somebody, that's not foolproof. But so far, this seems to be one of the only ways that drone defense has been kind of successfully tested, and that's just through using nets to grab the drone out of the air and move it the heck out of the way in case it's carrying anything dangerous. So that was interesting. I think it'll be very possible that we see a lot more tech startups starting to come into this space, trying to solve this issue. And I think whichever company or companies are first to come up with a real solution, they will do very well for themselves, because it is a real problem. Making sure that stadiums all across the world and just other large public areas are safe and drone-free if they need to be drone-free. So that's that. Moving on to the third headline I want to talk about. This one's pretty fun. It's all about human drones, like drones that can carry one or two persons. We've seen a few of these. There's one at CES a little while back. But today another one was released, or another version was released. So this is a vertical takeoff and landing drone. I'll have a link for this article down below again. So I'll read a little bit of it. 2017 is the year of vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. So far we've seen a few wild projects. So I would totally agree with this article. There's been quite a few interesting drone human carrying devices that have come on, demonstrations so far. Nothing mass market yet, but I'll show some images too right now of what I'm looking at, because it's pretty darn cool. So this article goes on to talk about how some companies are taking off this vertical takeoff and landing solution using drones, and kind of talks about why drones aren't everywhere yet. So, there's still some fundamental issues with the whole idea of drones being used to move people from point A to point B. One, there's some regulatory issues with having an aircraft pilot itself without somebody who's licensed in the aircraft. That's one. Number two, it gets a little bit complicated around battery density. So being able to store enough battery, or enough energy in a light enough package. Same problem that's plagued electric cars for such a long time. The idea that the batteries to carry enough energy have to be so big and so heavy that you can't fly, or at least can't fly very far with them. Same problem with electric cars, but those issues seem to start to be moving out of the way, and with Tesla kind of paving the path with creating really high efficiency batteries in terms of their energy density per how much they weigh. It'll be interesting to see where this technology goes. So there'll be some pictures on the screen showing you what this is. So this is just another prototype that looks like it just came out a few days ago. It's just a little bit bigger than a car, and it's a very interesting idea to think that these could be sometime in the future. I don't think they'll be very consumer. I think they'll be very expensive and kind of reserved for people who can spend a large amount of money, just like personal aviation is today. So just thought that was very interesting. I wanted to share that with everybody today. But on that note of vertical takeoff and landing personal drones, I think I'm going to end this week's episode of Drone Chat. If you have any story suggestions or anything you'd like to see covered on the show, please feel free to let me know. Looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.